Well, Theater of the Oppressed is a term coined by Augusto Boal of a particular type of theater in which there are no spectators.
He doesn't call people actors, he calls them spectators. Spectators and actors, it's one and the same.
It's a theater that is grounded in the questions and stories of a particular community, whether it's geographic or issue-based, as in our case, or...
So in forum theater, you create a scenario, and then you repeat the scenario, and at any moment the audience can interrupt and replace a character to change the course of the action, with a suggestion of how the outcome can be changed. The audience and the actors get to experiment with what is the action that will change an outcome by playing it out, by improvising it.
We were having people responding, and they were changing our places with us, or telling us what to do to change a scene. Let's do it this way and see if that situation would be better.
And I feel with Zamia, like I do see change. I see change in individuals that take part in the work. And I also feel like while there is this overwhelming tsunami of greed and, for lack of better language, evil and rotting of democracy that's coming, you know, your choice is to drown in it, run away, or just keep swimming. And so I feel like Zamia is a way to keep swimming in it.
And I think this is one of the really powerful parts of Theater of the Oppressed, is that it helps us move from just getting really overwhelmed and demoralized by picking apart the details of the problem. Way more important thing is to create the space to change and get people involved in like imagining what could be different.
This phrase that gets used a lot when talking about Theater of the Oppressed, and that's rehearsal for the revolution.
Well, Locked In is a collaboration between CAR, Campaign Against Racism, which is an international group of medical professionals, and Zamia Theater Project.
My real name is Donald Yuntz, but I just go by Lurch. Gotcha. And if I was going to use my alternative real name I use that goes with Lurch, it's Lurch D. Hellfire.
My name is Esther Ure, and I have the title of Company Manager of Zamia.
My full name is Jennifer Guest-Hines. I'm a general internal medicine doctor working here in urban St. Paul.
So my name's Marin Ward, and I am the executive and artistic director of Zamia.
My name's Mike Westerhouse, and I work in primary care at a refugee health clinic.
A person who was interested in founding Zamia, her name is Leisha Grossman. She started making some calls about people who wanted to be a part of doing a project that used theater to build connections between people who had experience with homelessness and people who hadn't experienced it.
Our mission is to combine the powerful combination of artistic expression and lived experience to inspire communities towards housing justice. We have a troupe that are primarily people with lived experience of homelessness.
What Zamia does, the person you're doing that, the story is about a real person. You meet the person, you hear the story from the person. So it's very much, there's almost more of an ethereal thing to it, that there's a deeper connection to it.
We were having an impact on audiences. We had people, you know, from the Minnesota Coalition for the Homeless say they could, you know, kind of feel the impact broadly of the conversations
A good friend of mine who was actually doing Zamia at the time, and she was doing a piece, and she came up to me, and I was just standing outside, not doing anything else. She's like, "Come on, you're gonna play my brother in this piece." I'm like, "Okay, why not?" And it just, I stuck around, and I stuck around, and I stuck around. And
I first heard about a Zamia show actually was on that NPR thing, Art Hounds. And there was like an upcoming show that they were doing at the Salvation Army, and myself and a couple of us went and saw their performance. I was like, oh wow, this is really powerful work that they're doing.
One of the things that is satisfying about working with Zamia is I feel like homelessness is kind of the very visible tip of an enormous iceberg.
it's not just one simple thing. That every single individual, every single person's story, they need something different. It's always, everybody needs a different kind of help. And just to say, just because you can look at someone and say, oh, you're homeless just because of this. No. They need help of some kind that you're not going, what do you need? I think that's the most important thing to realize is that just because you see someone sitting in a corner, it's not the average drugs and alcohol and blah, 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 blah. It's they got lost in a step in their life, and they need some kind of guidance to get out. They need some kind of help, some kind of lantern in the darkness. Say this is the way to go.
And we sat together and we were trying to figure out, so what are we going to do? What are the issues on our minds? And it turned out to be housing.
We were really interested in thinking about how do we look at the ways in which our health system criminalizes unsheltered folks, and how do we as health workers participate in that? And so we just started creating some scenes, and a lot of them were based on like things folks had experienced.
A lot of personal experiences with it. With healthcare, with the housing, with generally with a lot of housing experiences. My story it's hard. Simplest word to put, hard. Hard is the only way I can put it.
I mean, when you have a sprained ankle and you need to be elevated and resting and icing, and somebody says, I don't have ice, I don't have a refrigerator, where am I going to get that? Where am I going to be able to sit and feel like I can relax and not be fearful that someone will victimize me while I'm doing that?
Housing as healthcare is a big part of what this project is emphasizing.
The simplest question in the world to ask is, what do you need? And even if someone doesn't have the answer, have you seen the shock expression you get? Have you seen the expression people give when you ask that question? Like, huh? I don't know what, wait, no one's ever asked me that. That's the simplest thing in the world.
For me is really directing our attention as health workers to really understanding the upstream social forces that are really at the root of health inequities globally. It just constantly reminds us too of like the need to not just center care inside of hospitals and clinics, but to think about the ways in which we get outside of those.
In the course of a year, 700,000 minors ages 13 to 17 will experience homelessness. Check this, check this.
This is another way to respond to a problem that's not going to go away unless community comes together and deals with it.
The fact of the collaboration itself is valuable. And I know there's been medical students that have come to see it, and I think that that's eye-opening, even just to see the work being done, even just to see medical professionals working in this way.
It would be really interesting to put this in front of like people from like insurance boards. Do it for the Senate, do it for the Minnesota Senate at the Capitol. See how they look at this. I mean, that would be another powerful group. I mean, just put it in front of people who actually can say, okay, well, I have the power to change this.
We need to change laws. We need to probably change procedures and how we do things and how we deal with community.
And for me, like the arts does that.
The biggest thing is it creates connection. It creates human connection.
But the art is putting us all in a creative space. It's putting us all in a world where we're imagining all of a sudden anything's possible because I came to a show about homelessness and I'm laughing,
Art has no limits. And it's just, are you willing to step on that stage or not?